Oh, so I'm trying to fix stuff. Today we have this SCM Marchant Transmatic, which actually is still rebadged Diehl Transmatic. Doesn't work, so we'll see if we can get it working today. It'll probably take more than one day, but for the video, it'll just be one video. You've already taken these two pieces off. This is your decimal point selector for how many places you want past the decimal point. So you can see with a little pointer up there, which it's locked up, but if you slide this, right now it's pointing at in between 2 and 3, so that's where your decimal point is. So if you wanted to enter a 4, you'd have to enter 400, so it'd be 4.00. Anyway, it's kind of a cool feature of this machine. So start by there's two little release tabs here. You can release and then take that right off, and you can see our first problem is this used to be a belt at one point in time, and it no longer is. So I haven't tried these yet, but I did order this as a replacement. Not sure if this is going to work or not. See if the looks like the right tooth pattern, so hopefully it doesn't even long enough, but it's a little bit too wide though, so I'll have to see if we can trim it down somewhat. So that's going to be an issue on the back pulley. So hopefully that'll work out. I couldn't find a belt that was the exact size for this. It seems to be non-existent, so that's what I went with. I'm not sure if I have the dimensions or not. Not sure. I'll just see if I can find out in case somebody else needs that, but we'll see if that'll work. Anyway, the first issue though, well, I guess that was the first noticeable issue is this. The second noticeable issue is when you plug it in, it just slips the main clutch, so like the entire machine is jammed up. So if I demonstrate that, see if we can. Plug this in here. Just the rotate here, you can see just the main clutch slip. So the machine is completely jammed up. So that's what I'm going to do first to see if I can figure out how to unjam it. This machine has basically two separate sections. It has a kind of standard adding machine section, kind of like in the back and underneath, and then up here on top, driven by this pulley, is a small pinwheel calculator type mechanism. So theoretically, addition and subtraction and total and subtotal should work without this belt because they involve just the adding machine section and not the pinwheel section. So I was going to focus on first if I can get that part working, and if I can, then we'll see if we can fit that belt in there and then add drive to the pinwheel section to hopefully get multiplication and division working, but it's pretty far off yet. First order of business is to see where we can unjam this, so I'm going to start playing with that and see where we go from there. Alright, so making some progress here. I'm not sure if you can see the paper, but it is actually adding now. So if we do, I'm not sure what's adding in your head, I'll have to look into that, but if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, and total. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then so on, and the total is correct, 3330. Not sure what this funny symbol over here is. I'll have to look into that, but Yeah, so that's good. We can try a subtraction. Let's say we had 45 and we wanted to subtract, say, 15. And if we do a total, 30, yeah, that is correct. Yeah, not sure why it's stuck on red. And it looks like when let's see, if we do a total now, no, that funny symbol is still there. The funny symbol went away for a minute. Well, I tore it now, but it looks like when I did that total, the funny symbol wasn't there, so I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Oh, you know what? I know what that is. That's which register we're in. Let's go to store 2, and now try. Yep, now it prints a 2. So now I switched to store 2, and you can see now it's printing a 2 there. So that's whichever register you select. So it prints a Roman numeral 1 for store 1 and Roman numeral 2 for store 2. So that's pretty cool. We can try non-add just for the fun of it. It prints the number sign. If we do a total, yep, we're still at 0. And so you may have noticed that it's printing like 1.234.56. That's because the decimal point you can see is right here. So normally if you're using this properly, if you wanted to enter like 123, you'd enter 1, 2, 3, and then 0, so that you have your 2 zeros there. So now if I add that, we'll see it'll print 123.00. Let's see if this thing will. I'm not sure what it's adjusting there, but it did adjust. So that's max decimal points. I think that should be 0 decimal points. So now, just do. Oh, now I did it. So it was working until I played with this. Now it's jammed again. So we'll have to dig into that. But at least promising that it showed some signs of life. So, but this seems to have jammed it. So I'll have to look into that. But at least it did something. Okay, so I've been playing around with this a little bit, and I think I'm getting somewhere. So I don't know if I mentioned what some of the issues were. One of the issues that caused the machine to jam initially was that it was trying to engage one of the registers. I'm not sure whether it was the counter back here or the pinwheel accumulator, but I found that when these machines, because I have a Diehl Transmatic, or not Transmatic, a Diehl Decimer as well, and I've got that one working. Both on this one and that one, I found that it's very easy for the machine to either get out of time or some parts to get out of time, and when that happens, it either tries to engage the register at the wrong time or tries to engage the register and something else, or some kind of combination that causes it to jam. And what you can do is the registers are engaged by rocking shafts that went all the way through. So there's 2 engagement catches here and in the back there. This one is for the pinwheel accumulator, and there's one in the back there for the pinwheel counter. And basically how it works is the entire register is on a kind of like a pivoting mechanism. So normally it's pivoted up, kind of like that. And then when it wants to engage with the racks that run all the way through from the keyboard all the way up to the print mechanism. So normally it's like this, and then the racks would be, kind of like down here out of the way. And then when it wants to engage, it rocks down it rocks down this way technically. So imagine my thumb is like the register wheels. The whole register rocks down to engage with the racks, so that when the racks slide, they drive the register wheels. And how that works is there's a shaft that runs through that whole assembly, and there's catches over here that can push a little tang on the shaft to rotate it to engage it. And then I think it's spring-loaded to disengage, because I don't see any mechanism that would pull it back. So I think it's spring-loaded to disengage. And what you can do is you can pop those catches free, and then the register springs out of engagement, and that unjams the machine. Found that in numerous cases, that's what causes the machine to jam. And just to point out what I'm talking about, come over here. So will you be able to see, but see where the screwdriver is? No. Yeah, right there. So right there where the tip of my screwdriver is, there's a little pin there, and then, oh, now the focus went out. It was focused. There we go. Ah, had it for a second. Well, right there, that's one of the catches. You can see it has the body here pinned on the shaft, then it has that tang that sticks out the front. And if you come over to the back of it, there's these two, well, now it's really out of focus. Come on, you. There's these two pieces right here, and they rock down. You can't really see, but they will rock down. And if they're held back away from this thing, if they're held back away from the shaft on the back, then the part in the front will catch under this tang. I don't know what's wrong with this camera. It focuses for like a second and then blows right out immediately. So anyway, what you can do is, so right now both of these will be engaged if they were to rotate down like they were, and they're driven by a cam off the main shaft that pushes them to slide them down. I'm not really going to get into all that because you can't really see it anyway. But basically, as the main shaft rotates around, there's cams that will slide this one down and then slide that one down. And then there's levers, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see those either, that either pull these away, which means that, yeah, these are pulled away. That means that the front part, these are kind of like a C shape. The front part will rock in and catch this tang. Right now, both of these are disengaged. I hope I'm explaining this correctly. Right now, both of these are disengaged because they're hugging this. That means they're not hugging the front. So if when they rotate down, they'll miss this tang. If the mechanism decides to engage one of these, this will pull back away. And you can see how it moves there. This will pull back away. I can pull it a little bit with my magnetic screwdriver, but this will pull back away, and then the front piece will come forward underneath this tang, so that when these rock down, it'll push the tang up and rotate the whole shaft. So what you can do is, the lever that engages them is usually spring-loaded, so you can push that lever, back to its home position, and then push those little rockers to the disengaged position, and then the machine will free up if that's what's jamming it, which I found most of the times that's what's jamming it. Not all the time, but a lot of times that's what's jamming it. Anyway, so there was that. I think there was something else that I had done too. I think this piece was sticky or something. I oiled that. It wasn't printing, I guess, or something. I don't know. There's still something weird with the. Can you see what's I'm poking it? Not really. Camera angle is not correct. These things here are the zero suppressions. So right now they're all in the lock position, so none of these will print. Any column that has a number in it will release its associated rocker here. So they release like that. They're spring-loaded back in. And when they're released like that, then that releases the column to print. And so any column that has numbers in it will release its associated rocker to print, and then the furthest out column drags all the ones behind it. So like if I say a 1 here and then all zeros, this 1 will pull its rocker like that. And you can see how the ones ahead of it got stuck to it. That's not supposed to happen. And they don't want to always latch in again. So these will. See, they're kind of sticking to the ones I had. See, this is good. So see, the ones I'm pulling and all the ones behind it released, and the ones in front of it stayed locked in. So that's your leading zero suppression. So if I had a 1 in the column that I'm holding with the pliers, and all zeros behind it, the 1 and all the zeros would print, but no zeros in front of it would print. And And so the issue is that somehow these are stuck together. I put a bunch of oil on here, but they still seem kind of sticky. They don't feel sticky, but when you actually go and pull them, they all stick together. You can see all the ones in front of it came up too. So that has to be looked into. And what's been happening, I've noticed, is that sometimes it'll print the right number, sometimes it'll print random zeros in extra columns, which is not supposed to be doing. So that's an issue. The main issue is the belt that I got has absolutely no chance of working. It looked like it would fit, but it turns out the tooth pitch is just a tiny bit off. So like 2, maybe 3 teeth engage, and then the rest of them don't engage at all. And I tried to see if maybe I could use it anyway, but it turned out that anyway it was too thick to fit in between the pulley and the shaft here. So even if it had been the right tooth pitch, it wouldn't work anyway because the belt itself is too thick. You can see here's a piece. I mentioned that it was too wide, so I tried to cut some of the pieces out of it, which is a half job, but when you can't get the parts, what can you do? And you can see how the teeth here, and then there's this, the belt itself, on top of the teeth, there's a thick layer of rubber, and that thick layer of rubber is just too thick. It won't fit in between this shaft here and the pulley. So I thought I'd be smart by buying parts ahead of time, and then was running how dumb I was by buying a part that had absolutely no chance of working. So unfortunately we're not going to be able to do that in this video, but I'll try and do a little, we'll see, try and do a little demonstration anyways. You can kind of turn this by hand, but anyway, so addition we know works. Now we do the subtotal, and you can see, looks like I had some numbers in there, so let's clear that out first. I had a number in from the last calculation, so let's try that again. Yeah, so now we got 350, and now if we wanted to say transfer that to register 1, so if we go back to register 1, what do we have in there? We have nothing. So go back to register 2, do a subtotal, punch that out, go back to register 1, hit the plus. Now that will add, not sure if you can see the paper or not, but whatever the last thing printed, it has kind of like an internal, well, it has a lot of internal memories, but it has an extra memory for whatever was last printed. It gets automatically saved there. So if you have something printed that you want to do the next operation with, you can just go ahead right into the next operation. So that's what I did. I did the subtotal to print out the contents of register 2, then did a plus. Now that takes the last thing printed and puts it in register 1 because I switched to register 1. So now if I do a subtotal, now you can see register 1 has whatever was in register 2, which is, honestly, I think it's pretty cool. Memory works kind of similarly, so let's clear this out, do a total. Oops, sorry, I kind of messed up. I was supposed to hit this first. But now that's cleared out. Let's go back to register 2. Now we hit enter memory. That latches down. So now whatever is printed next will go into memory. So now if I total out register 2, which was our 3330 total, now this will be clear, but memory will have it. So say I wanted to do some more calculations. Let's just enter some random stuff here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we got that. Now we want to add our memory total to that. So we hit the memory key and then hit the plus key. And now that recalls from memory. So I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's printed out what was in memory, added to the register. So if we do a total now, that should be the total. I'm not going to verify that's correct, but I assume that it is because it's been correct so far. But yeah, that's pretty cool the way that works. So you've got 2 registers, 2 main accumulator registers, plus the memory register, plus the last printed register, plus the pinwheel counter and pinwheel accumulator. So this machine has got quite a bit of storage on it. And volume-wise, it is a pretty big machine, but I really don't think it's volume-wise, any bigger than like a Frieden or a Marchant silent speed, really. And it doesn't have the big cars that overhang it either, which is pretty nice. But yeah, definitely, a lot of registers in this machine for its size. I think it's pretty cool. So what we can try now is doing this by hand. So this is cleared out. Now the issue is, for some reason, and I haven't figured out why yet, whenever you do multiplication, it doesn't release the print lock. So it doesn't print out the results. I don't know why. But anyway, so what we can do is do 5 times 5 equals. Now you can see the main part of disengage is trying to drive the pinwheel, but there's no belt. But if I turn this by hand, now it should be done, but sometimes this sliding register gets stuck, so give it a little thought anyway. See, does it need, oh, it needs to go again. Well, oh, there it went. I don't think it worked correctly though, because I only entered 5, but it shifted this over and then tried to go, so yeah, there's something weird with the locking on that register. I think it doesn't always lock properly. And now the counter and pinwheel accumulator have slid all the way over, which is not supposed to happen. They're supposed to stay in the 0 position, so there's something wrong there. And as you can see, it didn't print, but we can use our last printed register to help us here. Even though it didn't print, it still saved that, so if I do a plus now, it doesn't work. That's because it has the pinwheel piece engaged again. Let's see if I can reset that. So now that's reset, so now let's see what happens. So now I'm just putting out 5. So yeah, something's messed up. I did have it working once though. Let's see if I can off this page. I did have it working once, so you can see there 5 times 5, and then I did moved by hand and got the 25 to add back and then print out that as a subtotal. So I got it working once, but there's still something wrong with this, and I don't think I'm going to play with this anymore until I get some kind of belt. I have ordered one, which I know is the wrong belt, but it may be thin enough to fit in there and function. We'll have to see. I don't know how long it's going to take to get here though. So maybe I'll try, see if I can reset this back to some functional position, at least to capture on video that turning it over by hand did something. As it exploded now, it didn't do anything right. So I don't know, but I'll probably try that one more time, and if that doesn't work, we'll just put this aside until we get a belt, so I'm not sitting here cranking this thing all day. Alright, so I set the register back over. We'll see if this is getting more cooperative now. Let's see, are we... Oh, it still tripped the pinwheel thing, hold on. Alright, so now hopefully everything's reset. So total, prints out nothing, good. Let's try this again, and hope that, because it messed up last time with something else over here, it didn't get into some funny state. But let's see. 5 times 5 equals. Alright, so now it's on to pinwheel mode. Alright, that's what it's supposed to do. So you can see that once I turn my thing around 5 times, the register slid over to make sure that there's no, leading digits, and then we turn it back to where it's honed. Now, if it had printed it out, it would have been almost perfect, but it didn't. But if we do a plus now, not sure if you can see, but there it is, the 25. I'll bring the tape over in a minute. And now if we do a total, that was added in, so let's... So there we go, we have 5 times 5 equals, and then it would have printed 25 if it had been working properly. But because it didn't, the only issue is it didn't release this latch here. This is the non-print latch, so if the machine is, doing a transfer of something that doesn't want to print out, like say it's, I don't know, say it's printing or transferring in between registers for whatever reason. I think off the top of my head why that would be, but anyway, this will be in this position so that it doesn't allow any of the, because even if these release, then they'll be stopped by this, so it doesn't allow anything to print. So the issue is this is remaining engaged and blocking any printing at the end of the multiplication cycle for some reason. And I have tried to hold this back, and it does print, but then that causes a jam somewhere else, so not recommended. But anyway, by using, like I said, using our last printed register, because everything else for the printing cycle worked, except for just the release of the actual printhead, so that's why this ended up in the last printed register. We can add it from that and then get our total that way. So, like I said, it is promising, but obviously nowhere near perfect yet, and I still have to find a belt to go on there. But the addition and subtraction, like the adding machine part of it, seems to work. Store 1, store 2, memory, non-add, and then we try subtraction. That all seems to work. So the issues that remain are multiplication doesn't always work properly. The machine still does sometimes jam when trying to load the counter or read from the pinwheel accumulator. So that, again, that may work itself out as things get oiled and loosened up, or maybe something we have to look into later. But like I said, for now I'm going to put this aside until I can get a belt that will work reliably on here. You can see I tried, just on a whim, I tried some rubber bands, and of course that didn't work at all. I think it went around 3 times and then jumped off and then put it back on, and then it just started breaking. So that was no go at all. But anyway, I'm not going to stand here and try to crank it through a division cycle, and kind of entirely cranking it through multiplication cycles. So I think I'll leave it for now. At least we got the adding machine part, seems to be mostly working. And you can see actually that there used to be a belt here too that has disintegrated, but the wire bands are still there. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. This does function. This is the clear thing. So this, when it clears, it pulls. Well, now I've done it. Take something that's working and mess it up. So like if we do, now watch, this will pull that back to clear it. You can see that pulled that back to clear out the keyboard. So that seems to be working for now. For how long, I don't know. So we'll probably deal with that later. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.